Aloha and welcome to Connection to the Cosmos with your host, me, Dr. Lisa Thompson, where I have out of this world conversations with extraordinary people. And today I am really excited to have on Colleen Lindberg, and we'll bring her on in just a moment. But first, a couple of announcements. If you have not had the opportunity yet to grab my free 20-minute meditative journey to meet your galactic family and guides, make sure you do so on my website, mysticmanta.com or drlisajthompson.com. Also, I'm going to be hosting my Galactic Retreat Experience, 5 full days of connecting to all things galactic. This year, April 30th to May 4th, here on the Big Island of Hawaii. Limited spots available, so make sure if that's something on your to-do list that you sign up right away. And more information on my website, mysticmanta.com or drlisajthompson.com. And if you are coming to Hawaii anytime throughout the year, specifically to the Big Island, to the Kona side, then come on one of my Big Island UFO tours, where you will see the night sky in a whole new way using my Generation 3 military night vision goggles. And for more information on that, you can go to bigislandUFOtours.com. And then finally, I am so excited because my newest book just came out January 16th. It's available on Amazon throughout the world. And Awakening to Your Multidimensional Self, Harnessing Energy, Timelines, and Higher Consciousness. And it did hit #1 in 8 different categories. So it is a best-selling book on Amazon. So make sure you grab your copy. And without further ado, we're going to bring on Colleen. Hello.
Hi.
So let me read your bio, and I can't wait to start this conversation with you. Colleen Lindberg is a soul mission activator and spiritual guide. Her mission on Earth is to dismantle the conformity infrastructures holding us back so people can fully embody their potency and power. She believes that each soul missions is a unique rhythm that is meant to ripple through the world. Her programs, teachings, and channeling abilities guide light warriors into more embodiment into their light, owning their unique tools and vibration. Her potency in transmissions has been known to shift energy in real time, collapsing timeline narratives and activating spiritual gifts. Well, welcome, Colleen. And first question that, since we're just meeting for the first time and my audience may just be meeting you for the first time as well, is I would love to know your background. Like how did you grow up? Spiritual, religious, something else, so that we can understand how you got onto this journey.
Yeah, I grew up in a very Catholic home. So we would go to church every Sunday, and we didn't really read the Bible religiously. I think we went to church more so to appease other people in our life as a family. But that's kind of how I grew up. And then at 15 years old, my mom stopped going to church and making us go to church. Like literally, I was that girl that would sleep over at my friend's place on Saturday night in the hopes that I didn't have to go to church the next day. And she would always come and pick me up. She's like, I don't care if you sleep in, you're going to church in your pajamas, you're going. And then at 15, she just stopped going to church. And I was like, what do you mean we're stopped going to church? And she's like, I found God in other ways. And then for a couple years, I went on my own. I literally walked to church from my house to this church, and I would show up. I know it's kind of weird. The rebellion didn't want to go to church, and then she started going to church, and then I was just kind of like, I don't feel like this is my place either. And then I definitely stopped going to church, and then the journey continued through all of, the darkness for a while until I started really aligning in spirituality and the calling of the energies. And yeah, here we are.
Okay, well, so I guess roughly how old were you when you got on the spiritual path of more of what you're doing? And like, was there something that happened in your life where there was like an inspiration to take a different path?
There's a lot of people that have like events that transpire that then get them to open up. And I don't have one of those per se. But at 28 years old, I met my first official spiritual mentor, meaning like the one I actually paid money for, not all the other ones that came into my life that I probably didn't acknowledge as a mentor at the time. And I had been knee deep in like The Secret and Esther and Jerry Hicks and stuff before this, and just kind of dabbled in understanding of it. Like it would just an audiobook would come into my place. Or I started reading personal development books at 23. So 5 years before that. So I was getting curious about other things in life. And then at 28, though, it really solidified where I started meeting my guides, and I started getting messages from my guides. And I met my spiritual mentor once a month for 5 years. I saw her every month. And 1 year in there, I saw her every week. And we'd be doing clearings and readings and activations and past life regressions. And, I just kept layering it on, going, the answer is here somewhere, yeah. And I'm 44 this year. So most people don't believe that, but I also am aging backwards because of where I live in Costa Rica. And it's like, I understand what pure life actually really means now. But for all this time, 16 years, it's been the journey of discovery and tapping in and all the things. So yeah.
Okay. Well, and I totally resonate with that reverse aging because I'm 52 and I live here in Hawaii.
Yeah, right? I know. We look good. We'll take it.
So, career-wise, what were you doing before you started this spiritual business?
I was doing very pragmatic business coaching. So I've been an entrepreneur. The exact same time I opened the business was the exact same time I met my spiritual mentor, and never thought that the laneways would ever cross. But over the years, I just kept taking courses and more courses in the spiritual realm and getting certifications for fun, not realizing that it would all come together and come into play later on in life. And I was doing more like franchising, growth strategies, process development, leadership development. And it still plays a role sort of in the work I do today. It's just not as linear as it used to be.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and why I'm curious about all that because there are a lot of viewers, listeners that might have just normal jobs, but they want to transition, and it's never too late to transition.
Never.
You do want to get into this kind of work. But because, so you have a lot of interesting stuff in your bio in terms of, soul mission activator and that. So tell me more about that. Like, what do you actually do with your clients and who comes to you?
Yeah. And it's like, I didn't call myself a soul mission activator. It's a kind of like I got ordained in that, in the space of one day I woke up and they're like, you're ready. And I was like, for what? For soul mission activation. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean we're doing this stuff? They're like, remember all the things that you've been taking for all these years? Yeah, it's time to put them into play. And I was like, fine. When I kind of pushed back a little bit in this space for a couple years until I actually realized I needed to surrender into that. And then life became a way easier when I did. So just putting that out there too.
Yeah.
But literally every single one of us has a reason why we're here on earth. We didn't just birth to come to earth to work 9 to 5 and Netflix and chill every day. It's like, and maybe part of that's your purpose, but it's like, there's a reason why we're here. And some of us are meant for entrepreneurship. Some of us are meant for philanthropy ways. Some of us are meant to just raise our kids in a certain vibration or explore different sources of food. And everybody has a piece to the puzzle. So my job in this earth experience, one of the many jobs, but one of the jobs is to help people align in their soul mission activation inside of more entrepreneurship than any other parts, and for them to really own who they are in that space and have the confidence and courage to step up into that power and to speak it into the world and to make their imprint. And I always say, it's like, if your light is lit, then you can actually light the lights of others. But if you're not lit, you're not lighting anyone, and you're meant to be lit. Like, you're meant to serve the world in a certain way. And so I do that by tapping into their Akashic records. I do that by a lot of channeling work and tapping into their higher self and guide teams. And I help them move energy through that needs to move through, clear the energy, deal with the shadows, release the past lives, clear up karmic debt, all the ancestral stuff. Like, it's all very rooted in this earth experience that I help them move through all the layers that are blocking this from fully being into alignment. So
beautiful and very aligned with the work that I do and some of my other. And so we need all of us. And
yes.
And I love what you said of, if you're not lit, you can't help light other people. And, for me, I've had my spiritual business for 8 years, other businesses before that, very mainstream businesses, but it was when I moved here to Hawaii 4 years ago that I fully stepped into my real mission and purpose of being the galactic ambassador and channeler that I fully embraced, that I couldn't embrace back in Washington State. So.
Or in Canada, like, I was still doing some of this work, but the second I moved here, my ability to just drop in just changed. So for those that don't know, I live in Costa Rica. So it's like, it's a whole vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, okay. So you mentioned channeling. I
Mm.
would love for you to share more about like who or what comes through you and what that energy is like.
Yeah. So unlike you, so you're more in the galactic sphere, and I'm sure you channel other deities and all the stuff and the work you do, depending on the work you're up to. I work more so with like what I call Earth Warriors or the Light Warrior Collective in this Earth plane, which includes a lot of the Egyptian goddesses. I would do a lot of work with the Dragon Realm. I also attach a lot to fairy energy, and a lot of my clients come from a very playful energetics, and they really connect in with fairy energies. And it's the work I do to almost like reclaiming the imprints of the earth experience needed for their next phase. Where I can imagine some of the work you do is more, let's pull it down from the ethers into the physical form, where I'm like, let's remember it in the physical form here. So it all works. So this is Tony, by the way. She's definitely a healer. She actually, when she asked me that question before we hit record, she's like, excuse me, I channel the galactics. That's what she said to me. I was like, excuse me, this isn't about you. Okay, this is about me right now.
Well, cats are definitely very ET like. They're
Oh yeah.
yeah.
She gets life. Like, she's 14. She looks like she's like 2. And she literally sits on her throne on my desk when I do all my work. And she always says that our energies combined are like stardust. And so we work simultaneously together. But she wanted to make sure I recognized her, that she actually channels galactics.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and that's really interesting because so I channel galactics, but my cat Chana,
Yeah.
she is very earthly, very
Mm,
grounded, and she's a healer as well. So it's
so
like
funny.
our animals are balancing us out.
Yeah. And I bet you if we start to look at this, it's probably a thing. This is probably like something that now your clients are going to be like, oh my God, Lisa, like this and this. And it's like, I guarantee it's a thing. Like, we just discovered a new
Yeah.
layer, like, yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
so I love my dragon team. I would love for you to share
Mm,
what comes through the dragons generally
yeah.
and for your clients.
Yeah. I work a lot with protection and clearing energies with dragons. Their earth energy, if you can imagine when they were actually incarnated in physical form. And I actually believe, I'm naive enough to believe that I will see a dragon in physical form on this earth experience in this body before I leave. Okay. So like, I'm going to meet one and we're going to be like face to face, and I'm going to be like, I knew it. Like, I just knew it. And maybe I'm like an old sage living in a jungle house. It doesn't even matter, but I am going to meet them. But I use them a lot in protection and clearing energy. I have 12 that I work with consistently that are with me. Plus, I've got certain entities that fly on them. And then my higher self and I lead in the Seraphim dragon energetics. So I do a lot of work with Seraphim energy, especially I do a lot of shadow clearing. So I do a lot of crazy stuff in the shadow world. So I've got assets and teams with me all the time because of the work that we're doing. And a lot of my pathway is dismantling shadow. So I don't have a fear of coming up against any of the entities that way in the space of it all. But I teach my clients a lot. And this comes through, each of us has our own protection and clearing protocols. Some of us do know that, some of us don't, because we years ago were conditioned to think this is how you clear your energy. And it worked until the timeline started changing, and then the energy started moving, and then now all of us are, doing our thing, and it's all unique vibrational frequencies. And the dragons usually come in on the teams with protection and clearing for a lot of my clients, at least, because they're attached into my energy. We're all kind of moving together in a certain phase of stuff. So that's how I work with them a lot. I channel them a lot in light language. I got a whole bunch of transmissions that I do with them, and channel through their energies to just help release whatever needs to go.
Okay. Well, so you can always say no, but I'm curious, is there anything that wants to come through from them right now? And
Yeah.
again, if not, that's okay too, because I'm putting you on the spot here. So,
Oh, my whole life is on the spot. Since when, if anything's ever planned, I don't even know if it ever goes to plan. So I flow all the time with everything. Yeah. So let us just tap into, a lot of us are in transition right now. Whenever you listen to this podcast episode, wherever it lands in your energetic field, we're moving through stuff. next layers, next levels. We're coming up against some major like pillars of our life right now in ownership of that, like literally having the courage to step in, and let's just activate wherever you choose to lean in. So light language is quantum. So it means that you take it into your own frequency and it transmutes with what you need it to be. So take this in as either helping you move into the next level with clearing, or an activation that's going to help you literally get into the next phase. So whatever that aligns with you, take it in. I'm going to ask everyone to close their eyes. However, if you're driving or doing other things and you can't, don't do that. But you can still receive in the space of, but I'm going to close mine to be able to tap into the field. And I'm going to encourage Dr. Lisa to do the same thing. Yeah, and just take a breath in and allow yourself to just ground into your body. So just get into this present moment of time. And I'm just going to ask you to open up your heart center to just receive. So just like imagine your heart opening, just drop into your space in your body and just breathe in and just come into this moment of time. Sianiki sanya sakas. So sinia sanasinia sanasinia sakasinos. Sokanya sakasini. Sokasinia sini sinia sanya sinia. Sokasanya soho. Soho sinia sana. Sonia siki sanya siki. Sakisio sa sikisio sa. Sikisio sasanya sosanya konya sa. Sanya kasinya sa. So sinya so. Danya kanya sanya sinya sonya sakanya sinya sa. Sa sini so sini sa sonisa. Soki yasana. Sakisya sini sona. Dosanya. Dosanya sanya, danya nasona. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. I'm just coming back into the space. Tony wanted to say some stuff to you, and I was like, I know. Like, apparently we got the dragons and the feline galactics playing out today. So yeah, there you go.
I love it. I fully felt that in my body, and I'm sure the audience did too.
Yeah.
So,
it's a powerful place to play. Like the dragons are like, they're here. They're literally supporting this earth experience right now, and they want to be connected into. So some people fear them, which is really interesting, but
it is really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever actually have any of your clients kind of shy away from them, or are they coming to you because of the full resonation?
Yeah. So some of my clients don't even know, like they just are in it. And then whatever's transition, they're like, I'm all in. But we, 6 of my girlfriends and I went out to dinner one time a couple of years ago before I moved to Costa Rica. And one of my girlfriends had no resonance to anything, but some of the other women had been in my programs, or they like, we talk about dragons and we know. And so she went to the bathroom, and the rest of us at the table held hands, and the wind started to pick up outside and the dragons were like moving energy through. And she came back and she was like, what is happening? And she's like, the walls were shaking in the bathroom. We were activating dragon energy at the table at dinner outside on the patio. And we're like, the dragons are here. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And I was like, yeah, I remember. You're not like, you're in a whole other realm than we all are playing over here. This is normal. But my clients they just are like, they're like, okay, that's what we're doing. Like they don't, they just, because they came through the gate. Right. So if they get into the gate, they just are in the gate,
Yeah. Okay. Well, so, you mentioned Isis and Hathor and the Egyptian deities. So last year I spent 2.5 weeks in Egypt, going to all the temples and experiencing the energy of the pyramids and all of that. So I would love for you to share your experience with all of the Egyptian stuff that you work with.
Yeah. So I didn't resonate with Egyptian lineage until 2021 when the Sophia Code dropped into my awareness. And when I started reading Isis's transmission in the Sophia Code, I was like, wait a second, like, and I could just feel the energy. So then I went down the rabbit hole, obviously, of like, what is this Egyptian wisdom? What does this represent? How does this move? And I was working with a light language mentor in 2021 at the time, opening up my availability to hold this and not think I was crazy or all the things. Like, it's like, this is a language I speak all the time now. But before I would be like, am I actually talking this? Am I just making this up? Like the whole
Yeah.
spiritual pathway pretty much that we all go through. And Isis dropped in and I started meditating with her. And she's like, this is part of your, like, you're meant to do this work. And when I fully started owning my spirituality online in programs, and I was all in 2022 at the beginning of that year, I worked a lot with her energy of being able to hold the power. And then a masterclass I channeled through her energy called Unleashed was literally the catalyst for the whole spiritual brand moving through. And that masterclass still to this day had the most people registered, had the most people that paid at all the price points that I upped the ante. And that was the first time I brought light language out into the world to actually speak it confidently in the space. And then Hathor dropped in later that year and I worked with her in my 12 Veils program. So really opening up my availability to speak multidimensional languages and clear through the multidimensional portal through the availability of my throat chakra. And then just over the years, I've always connected in. Like even yesterday, I was working with Osiris's energy in someone's field of unearthing some stuff in their energetic field. Like whoever's coming through, I'm like, okay, clear them, bring them in, let's roll, and obviously we know Mary Magdalene is really connected to the Egyptian lineage as well, if some of you didn't know that, but she was trained through some of their mystic schools. So I have a lot of connection with her path, and yeah, it's been a cool journey.
Okay. Well, and that brings me to, I guess, my next question. And you mentioned that you have experienced some of your past, or what I call parallel lives.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
and I'm wondering, do any of those actually involve Egypt?
Yes. My ego wants to tell you that I actually have parts of Isis's soul incarnated in this body. However, my spirit's like, I think we all have parts of all the things because everyone's one. And, we go into that conversation of stuff.
Yeah.
But I have not been, I say, to Egypt on this earth experience. My spirit's like, well, we've been to the real Egypt that's floating out in the galactics, in the space of all that. But I definitely have. But my soul only incarnates on Earth when the Earth blueprint is off. So major catastrophe kind of events, Atlantis fell, I was on Earth. When Lemuria went down, I was on Earth. Like I was here, just like what we're doing now in the space of reconnection of energy. I'm here for a reason. Like we all are, but like, it's like, okay, we got to send them in, because we've got to recalibrate.
Right.
So yeah, but I've definitely had a parallel life. Yeah. In Egypt.
Okay. Well, and I fully resonate with what you just said because I know I've had way more non-Earth lives than Earth lives.
Oh, yeah.
And it's mostly been in times of, like you're saying, like
Mhm.
right now, where we need those of us to bring our gifts, our light, and really help the transition. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, for you, what has been the most transformative thing in opening yourself up to all of this work?
Trust. Really. And I say that with so much like grace because it's the one of like trust, surrender, letting go. They all play and weave together. And the only reason I am exactly in this moment of time today was because I did. And because we've all been conditioned to like see the results and then take action, right? That's how the earth experience works, where spirituality is take action and then you'll understand why later. Like, and it's all reversed, harem. If you think about it, it's all reversed, right? It's like all different in the space of spirituality. So it's like trust the calling, and then later on you'll understand why you were supposed to launch that, do this, go there, whatever, all the things. And it's been the catalyst to all of this, trusting the light language, trusting the movement in my pathway, trusting that I could hold that vibration, trusting the calling to invest there, trusting that offer, everything. And I've learned through the years that I'm just going to trust all the time. So I wake up and I'm like, where do you need me to be? And I keep moving. I have some structure because I played that game before. That didn't serve me when I was just in flow. The whole structure didn't serve me when I was just in structure. So now we weave both energies together, like the masculine, feminine. We weave them both. And now I'm like, okay, I got some structure, but where do you want me to be in my structure? Is there certain things you need me to do today? Like, what are we playing within?
Okay. Yeah. Well, and for me, the trust piece was huge. And really, I think the beginning of that trust was when I understood my energetics and my human design. Because I'm a sacral generator. And when my gut would be like, and I'd be like, what? No. But when I just trusted and took whatever that first step, not knowing where it was going to lead, then, over the last 10 years, huge transformations. Moving here to Hawaii, I didn't know why I was called to Hawaii until after I moved here. And yeah. And so I love that. So really, just for the audience, really learning to trust whatever is coming to you. But what I also understood is the more that we are able to clear those traumas and blockages, like the work you and I help people do, the more that we can actually tune in to the information coming to us, right?
Yes, absolutely agree. And it weaves together, like we're getting signs, let's say, all the time. And it's about us like looking at the small stuff to start. Because some of you are in this, but you're like half kind of in it. And some of you are like, I'm so in it. Like me and my galactics are jamming out over here, listening to you guys talk, like we're all in different phases. And one of the keys that really shifted this for me was that I kept hearing this whisper, like, you should take your keys. And I tell the story all the time, but it is so pertinent to the journey. And I'm like, why should I take my keys? This is me arguing with spirit all the time. I used to do this all often. Even now today, I look up and I go, really? And I'm like, I know I'm going to do it, but I just want to like we have a little battle around this, I'm going to the garbage. And they're like, take your keys. And I'm like, so I obviously didn't take my keys, okay, because I'm a rebel like this. I go to the garbage, which is down the driveway, okay? And then I come back, my door is locked. Like, it's just randomly locked. Luckily, the day before, I listened when they said, you should unlock this window, and I listened. However, the window's 8 feet up off the ground, and we are in the middle of winter. And of course, I didn't go to the garbage with a jacket and like things on. You go in your like sweatpants and your t-shirt because you're just going to the garbage. Well, I didn't have strong triceps at the time. You should have seen me trying to get up in the window. And then the window was beside my bed. And the dog and the cat are there at the window looking at me. And I'm like, can you move? I need to like propel myself into the space. But I remember this so much. And it's like these signs, these little whispers that are telling us to do things. And when we start to listen, it just keeps opening and opening and opening. And obviously then all the work comes into play and everything plays out in the mechanism of it all. But it's these small moments of time. So I learned now, I just
That's
listen.
a great story.
Right?
I'm sure many people can resonate with that.
Yeah, seriously. But it's like the simplest things. And sometimes we make it so hard, but I'm like, why do I need my keys when I'm going to the garbage? Well, apparently, yeah, I listen now all the time. It's like, you should, I am, I'm okay with no more chaos in my life. Thank you. We're good.
Yeah. Well, so, different people have different clair abilities enhanced, and you're talking about hearing the whispers. So I'm curious which ones are really online for you.
Yeah. So my inner knowing and feeling are like my two dominant that I work with all the time. People are always like, how do you know? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I just know. But when I channel, I activate my ability to see. So I get it in visualizations and I see where we're going and I know where we are. Like when I do past life exploration is what I call it. Because most people, if I called it whatever I want to call it, don't know what we're actually doing. So I just keep it labeled in a way that most people can get and understand. But I drop in with them. I know where we are. I see the life. I like see it all because I'm tapped into the field, but it's
Mhm.
more challenging when I'm not channeling in that space. So if you brought me into a guided meditation, I have to focus to be there. Whereas when I'm just right here, it just flows. So
Very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, let's talk again about like your ideal kind of clients. Like who comes to you and why do they come to you?
Yeah. So they come to me because they are desiring to move through their next level, and they don't know how because they've tried all the things or they are this close and they just can't seem to get the grit in. And we just dial it right into the space of what their offers are, where they're meant to lean into. We clear out all the energy. We activate whatever needs to be activated in the space of it all, and then we take action. So I label them, even though I don't like to label anything, but it's like light warriors, light workers, lightpreneurs. So they are doing life in a certain way spiritually, may not be in their business structures per se. Like I've got some real estate agents that are in my field, but they are super connected spiritually and they want to know how to tap this together. And they can, all of us can wind it
Mhm.
in. But it's those that are like, they kind of come to me in a little bit of they need clarity in the space of it all, and then they need to be activated into that clarity to move it through. I don't do long containers. The max I would ever take anyone in is 6 months, but we always start with 3 because I tap in and I'm like, you're good to go now. You got the tools and assets. You could go run. And some people will stay in my world for a while and they'll do programs and stuff like that, which is totally different energy. But one-to-one work is like,
Yeah.
it's tight. Like in 30 days, I can do some crazy stuff with people if they're in. Like if they're like, I'm ready to run, I'm like, let's go run. Let's go have a good time over here. So yeah.
Okay. Well, and that was going to be my next question. So you just answered that of like,
Yeah.
yeah, how long do people typically work with you? Just because, I know some people are, is this going to take years or is it quantum?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know about you, but like I have lived my life in longevity for a long time. And I'm like, no, I want quick, easy, grace. Like it doesn't mean we don't have work to do because sometimes you have to come up against your belief system and we've got to move that through and you've got to have grit and courage to do the things and all the stuff. But it's like we can shift like this now. Like if we make a decision and decide, you can go, and I've watched this happen with people in my world, 5K months to $50,000 months in 30 days. That can happen. That's actually reality now. Because when you tap right into the field of energy and you do the work around this and we clear it and you move with what's meant to serve the world with, and that's in your landscape, it's like we're defying the odds of the conformity that we've been put in on the earth experience now. And it's really fun to play there.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and that's kind of what my new book is about, The Awakening
Right.
Multidimensional Self, because it's all about really shifting quantumly into your highest timeline potential.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So for people who are kind of like, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can.
Oh yeah, you can. And you'll witness this everywhere now. Now it's pinged in you. You're going to see it all over the place. It's like it's amazing to watch. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what else do we need to know about you or the work that you do?
Hmm. Well, I'm a rebel. You know, like, so it's not shocking that I literally bust open conformity in the world and help people really align outside of the things that they've been taught that they think they have to be here, when it's like your potency and your light is meant to spread all over and you're meant to own all the parts of you. So like when you talk about the multidimensional aspect of stuff, it's like, yeah, we can tap into all that, but it's also all of that that's here. So
Mhm.
all I would like to say, like into the field of the people, is that you chose this personality, this body, this mission, all of the pieces. So if you're hiding from the world or you're holding on to judgment of yourself in certain ways, you're not serving the full complex light that's meant to stand out into the world. And we're all being called forward now to shine brighter. As you can see, the duality is playing out really amazingly in the world, and we see it so much more than we ever have before, because of the fact that the light is moving the energy through, and it's like we're in an upheaval of energy. But that also requires us to be solid here and to step up and to keep stepping up here. So it's part of my mission on earth, is like whether it's like this, and this is the only interaction that I get to have with your ears, it's like, how can I imprint a light that you continue to go on your path where you need to go? Whether it's content, whether it's in programs or one-to-one, like it doesn't matter to me where people float in or what they're witnessing. What matters is like, am I showing up fully so that you can take what you need from whatever it is that we're exchanging and you can go run? And that's the objective of it all, I feel. And it's just like, when I just keep in there, some cool stuff keeps happening. And I just am like, this is life. This is like amazing, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, do you have any events or classes or anything coming up that you want to share? Or
Yeah.
is it really, are you looking for one-on-one clients or?
I love working one-on-one because I like to defy the odds too, especially if you're like, I've tried it all. I'm like, let's go, you know? So if you're feeling that energy, just send me a DM on Instagram. We can chat. We can figure out what that looks like or feels like or is, or all the things. But I always have live programs going on. Like there's new stuff happening in my world all the time. And I know that this podcast might land in your field right when it comes out, or it may land in your field in 6 months time from now. Cause it's like, some people I watch, it's like, how is my like third episode, #1 episode this week? You know, it's like, and because I have a podcast too, and I'm like at 118 episodes, this literally yesterday's launch. And I was like, they're watching episode 3, right? So it's like, I get that you'll come into this wheelhouse whenever the message drops in for your energy. So all I say to everyone is come to Instagram and find me there. The links will be in the show notes, I'm sure. And it's like, you'll see in my stories what I have going on. And if you connect in, amazing. So yeah, that's kind of my space.
Okay, well, and so since you've mentioned that, you will have to send me those links so I can put them in. But
Okay.
let's verbally
Yeah.
share your website and what you are on Instagram or any other socials, and the name of your podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so I don't have a website because I'm a rebel. So I do individual landing pages for every launch. So that's just how I operate and roll. But in Instagram on my link tree, you can see all the current offers that are there and take a peek into that space. And the Instagram is so THE and then Colleen Lindberg. So it's like, you can see my name on this video, or you'll see it in some aspect of the podcast. And you can just search me there and find me there. And I'm the same. Actually, I think it's Soul Mission Activator on TikTok, and I do daily videos over there. Facebook's the same name. YouTube's the same name. You search me somewhere, you'll find something. You know? But I feel like I'm getting a website this year because I'm doing some stuff, and maybe I'll have one, but it'll probably just be like one landing page that says, hey, here's me. Do you like dragons? Let's talk. You know, like, just like super short. I don't know. I had websites years ago. Like I've been doing entrepreneurship now. It'll be 16 years this year. And I'm just kind of like, I haven't had one for like 6 years. So it's actually just, I just don't. Okay. Yeah.
That is being a rebel.
Oh, yeah. And everyone's like, you need one. And I'm like, apparently I don't, you know, like apparently I'm doing okay, you know, so like, I'm good. Yeah, it's kind of fun, actually. I just am like, yeah, here we go.
Well, so what inspired you to move to Costa Rica, and where were you living before?
Yeah, so I was living in north of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, about an hour and a half from the city north, literally in a snow belt. So you'd walk out of your house, it'd be like 8 feet of snow out in your driveway, and I'd be like, I'm going back inside. So I'm Canadian. I grew up in Canada. I've moved all around Canada and all the spaces of that. And just like you, I woke up one morning in 2022 and God, the universe was like, you're moving to Costa Rica. And I was like, okay, when am I leaving? And they're like, in the fall. It was like March or something. And I was like, okay, should I be selling stuff now and, you know, clearing out some things? And they're like, yes. So 6 months later, 3 duffel bags and Colleen was getting on a plane to move to Costa Rica. And I had never been here before. I didn't know anybody here. Everyone thinks I'm nuts, and I am. It's great. And like literally like a month before I was coming, I didn't know where I was going to live. Like I had no pulse point. And then a woman I was following on Instagram, who I just loved her energy, said, the family and I are moving to this town called Uvita in Costa Rica. And I was like, that's the thing I've been hearing. Like I literally kept hearing this word. And then literally like the next day she made a post from a friend's place who had this rental. And I literally picked it up and got on a plane to come to Uvita, Costa Rica. And I had no idea what I was walking into. But I followed the call. Literally, we don't even flush toilet paper here. Okay. Like, and I was like, I was pretty high maintenance when I moved here. I brought 10 pairs of high heels with me. And it was like, it's still a laughing joke. They're like, do you ever wear them? I'm like, no, here's when I wear them. When I go back to Canada, like I bring a pair with me. It is like the funniest thing because the roads aren't really paved where I live. And you wouldn't want to wear high heels here anyways. And it was like like a complete dismantling. And it was amazing, amazing. But also probably the hardest 2 years of my life because I went into the depths of truth of who we are as human beings. And I had to shed a lot of layers. And it was part of the whole process and why I actually feel like I was meant to come here because it was like, we need you now in the purity of your light, not what you think spirituality is. And yeah, you've been doing some good work over here, but look, girl, like you need to really get in. And yeah, I'm in. You know?
Well, I love that story. And actually, so my call to come to Hawaii was kind of similar.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, it was May of 2020. And my daughter, she was like, I don't want to live in Washington anymore. I want to move to California. I was like, I would not move to California. Number one, the ocean's just too cold. But it came just out of my mouth. I'd moved to Hawaii. Like there was no reason for me to say that. Mm-hmm. And we had a 2-year plan that got shifted into 6 months later. We bought a house kind of sight unseen because quarantine and all of that.
Right.
And do that for Hawaii. And yeah, fully then prompted to step into my true mission. So I love the parallel realities here between us.
Well, and between a lot of us, like my light language mentor just picked up and moved to Mount Shasta and literally has a portal way on her property there. Like, and we did this whole like ceremony there's 4 of us together. And it was like, so many people are just like, well, I'm supposed to be living here now. And it's like, we're creating imprints in the grid. And yeah, it's just cool to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Well, in our last bit of time, any other words of wisdom you would like to leave with the audience?
It's not going to make sense. Okay. It's not going to make sense why Hawaii, why Costa Rica, why you should speak in native tongue, why you should pull out your drum, why you should launch the offer. It's not going to make sense until it actually makes sense later. So all I want to do is encourage you to just keep taking action. Follow the calling, trust in the work, in the investments, in the way that you're supposed to be supported, trust in the communities, trust that you can have all of the things you desire. You don't have to sacrifice yourself in the space of it all. It can all come together. That's divine coding. Literally, we're all embedded with it all. So we just have to start to really believe and trust in that and take action behind the trust, and you will be supported all the way through. I promise.
Beautiful. What a great way to end. So, Colleen, it has truly been a pleasure to have you on. And I'm sure everyone watching or listening has really enjoyed it. And thank you also for bringing through the dragon light language. That was very potent.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And you guys might even want to re-listen to that, especially if you weren't in a place to close your eyes. But well, again, thank you for being here. And for those of you watching and listening, as always, thank you. And I'll see you next time on Connection to the Cosmos. Aloha.